did laugh. I said, oh my Lord, you got the wrong person. I said, what? So the man I picked up goes clear out on 303rd Street. So I get back and he comes out with his coattails and flying, you know, on the gowns where they don't fasten in the back. It's a flying in the air and he has on no shoes. What I got myself into that. Oh, at least he had on underwear. I was thankful for that. Oh, you know, some days you can't ask for everything. But that was a nice little lady. She just was sweet. Your daughter couldn't find her. I got the hospital. I said, we don't have any more for you to pick up here. I had to go back to the paper. I said, Lord, you do.
Oh, that's funny.
Jane. Who's in the jail? My guy I hauled in 3 months ago gets out on Sunday. He's excited about that.
Are we live?
Yes.
Okay.
I was making sure. No, I went after you're done.
Okay. Okay.
Ready?
It's been a long day. Okay, this evening, we'll start with,
About recycling?
yeah, start with recycling.
That'll work.
Okay.
Waste management contacted me a couple of weeks ago, wanted to visit about recycling. I think they maybe had initial conversations a while back. Recycling market has undergone significant changes in recent years. I think it's been a little over a year since some of that has happened. Basically, the market to ship everything overseas and recycle it kind of shriveled up because the contamination requirements that were put onto recycled material really kind of kiboshed that, and the costs that they were able to recoup, or the revenue they can get from it, kind of disappeared as well because they were paying less plus had stricter requirements. So it has cost Waste Management more money to process recycling, and they wanted to kind of openly dialogue with us about some options. Kind of three main things. One would be they feel like 88 cents, and I've got a breakdown of how they came up with 88 cents extra a month could keep the same service and kind of everything going the way it is. Option two would say we're gonna keep everything the same, but we're gonna go to every other week so they don't have the labor to come out. They cut that in half. And there is language in our contract that allows people to get, I think, a 23-gallon tub or up to a 65-gallon kind of container as part of our contract for recycling. The thought is that maybe we just work to promote that a little bit more so people could get that. Or the third option is that we kind of do nothing. They would probably end up, on any of these, we would want to do an educational campaign because we want to try to drive down that contamination level. But with option three, they would probably be more adamant about turning away loads, so they would be checking the recycling that people have out, and if it isn't good, they would just leave it and make a note of it. So we would probably have a lot of customer interactions there, and I think also that would potentially lead to the next time we get a contract, they're gonna make up that difference at some point. So kind of just thinking about if there's a preference or thoughts on that. We can definitely bring Waste Management here either to the meeting on next on Tuesday, or we could just do it next work session. I just kind of wanted to bring it up initially here. They're looking at trying to do something January 1, so that's not a big rush on that.
So no changes until at least January 1.
Right.
Okay, if we continue with recycling, they want to increase our bill by 88 cents to
They-
continue recycling.
With the same service level that we're picking up recycling every week, as well as picking up trash.
88 cents a month or 88 cents
88 cents a month
per person, per
per,
household?
If most
For
of our
residents.
yeah.
residents utilize the recycling, I mean, I can see a lot of them do.
I don't know I don't know what that, we
Wonder if
we
they can
could,
tell
I
us.
mean, we could definitely kind of survey, they might be able to tell us, but we could definitely survey the community. I think it's a good thing to have in the community as you're trying to be attractive to an attractive community. But there is a cost to that.
I'm also curious to know on the waste management side of things, how much of the recycling that they actually intake, how much of it they actually have to discard because it's contaminated.
You know, I've had 2 or 3 say something about saying that they just haul them to the dump.
Right.
So it's kind of like a twice a week pickup.
Well, the last thing
I
is I'm
think
wondering,
that may be accurate, because if you look at the trucks they're putting it in, if it wasn't contaminated before they picked it up, it is once they put it in that truck.
Yeah, but that's what, I've had 2 or 3 people ask me that, and I just say, you know, I don't know. All I know is I put out my recycles. But when does our rate adjustment come normally?
Our contract runs through 2025, I believe. It's
Okay,
2015
but
to
there, isn't there
2025.
so much for a rate increase each year
In September.
in September?
I think
And
it's
how
2%.
much is that? There's a limit, but there's also a minimum, or a minimum of a max, isn't there?
I don't remember max, I just remember it being 2%.
2% increase. What's in there in regard to the price of
The
fuel?
fuel, there's something in there
That
about
was a
fuel.
A fuel
5 cent
adjust-
surcharge, I thought, I can't remember, but I knew that there was a,
a surcharge for
They
fuel.
started doing that when it
If
was
it got over
required.
a certain amount like it did. But 2%, so would the 88 cents be in addition to the 2% increase that we
Yes.
will see?
If we were to keep that.
Okay. So what's a 2% increase? Figure out to.
I don't know what our current rate is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is either. It's getting close to what we're charging the customers, so.
Yeah, so that fund in and of itself is barely
That's just kind of.
borderline
pass-through,
break
really.
even
Uh-huh.
at this point. It's
The pass-through
Yeah.
kind of, because we
because I
just
think we
collect it.
absorbed increase after increase after increase, and so it's something that.
Well, we do raise that, though, every year to adjust for that, don't we?
It's been a couple of years.
Has
We've
it
had an
been?
increase in trash.
Well, you know, this, a lot of me went to not putting that on the water bill, to everybody had to pay it separately. And that's not worked real well, because people are not paying it, they're not getting it picked up, and they get trash everywhere in the dumpsters over there.
Yeah, it
The
was a
commercial
nightmare.
Yeah, it was
dumpsters.
bad before and now.
They're just running over, I mean, they're really, my sister over there at the car wash, in fact, they filled hers up so bad, she had to pay an additional charge to have her dumpster dumped, and it wasn't her trash. Yeah, so that I don't know that doing that's an option either.
Well, I know people aren't gonna be happy if they try to go every other week.
No, I don't.
There's a simple reason, because we used to get our trash picked up twice a week.
Right.
And I know with the limits on bags or on the size container, everyone would be paying extra.
That isn't gonna go well.
Well, are they just talking about pushing recycling to every other week? It's
Yeah.
still-
Just recycling every week.
But I know, well, for our house, we fill up the 60-gallon thing, recycling thing every week.
So do we,
So
we have more recycling than we do
we do
trash.
too. So, I think that would maybe make it a mess. I can just see the wind taking a bunch of people.
well, my concern is if we do switch bi-weekly, people will just throw the recyclables away.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they,
Well,
So would.
But I would say, I know that they told me that our current contamination rate is about 25 to 35%. So we probably have 25% of what we're doing is recycling should be in the trash anyway. So I think And that's where, like I said, an educational campaign,
Mhm.
we were talking today, or emailing back and forth today about trying to get that, what does that look like and how do we do that?
Mhm.
Because it's probably been a while since that has really been pushed out there, but also then trying to make sure that, hey, it's really important because it drives the costs
Yeah,
for all this.
I really don't see though where the contamination isn't coming from their trucks mostly. Because
Oh,
I mean, like, if you put a clean box in there, I know they won't take like a pizza box because of the grease of the pizza. If you put a box that you just got from Amazon in your recycling and they put it in there and smash it into all that garbage, it's no longer recyclable.
well, I think that some of that comes from people, if they put the recycling in a Walmart bag and then they put it in the recycled container, that's now contaminated because those plastic bags aren't recyclable.
which a lot of people probably don't know that.
Yeah,
You have to
Supposedly,
recycle
they're not
it.
even gonna take it if it's in Walmart bags, that's what they told us before.
yeah. And I think they would be a little bit more diligent about that. I think the guys in the field are probably just
Throwing it in.
throwing it in, and it gets back there, and then they're managing it. And they were probably, my assumption would be is from their side, they would say, okay, you guys got to take more time. We're going to look at this. We got to get this.
Yeah, because
You have the right to reject those
A lot of
loads.
people probably have no idea.
Right.
I think guys just pick it up, throw it in,
Yeah.
go on, just like they do regular.
Well, because
trash.
even you see the little number on even the plastic bags, you go, oh, I can put it in there.
Yeah, I look at
Mhm.
those, so.
So even some of the stuff that has the recycle symbol on it can't be thrown in that tub.
2% is the annual increase, but there's a line in there that for other unforeseen, uncontrolled circumstances, there's other adjustments. So like
Right, like fuel costs.
If fuel went way up, they
Yeah.
would be able to
Yeah, but
do
they,
that on
yeah,
top of the
that's
2%.
because that was in there. I remember those when gas got like $3 and something, or $4, so high. So I don't know what that 2% increase will look like.
So
this
what is it
year.
now, like 15?
Did we not put that in the
16,
budget?
It's not very much.
I'd say what we pay is waste management.
We didn't adjust.
I was gonna say, so if it's $16 a month, you're talking 32 cents.
So just over a dollar if you
I
do.
don't think it'll
What we
be,
use for sales.
no, we didn't have that in the budget.
We didn't budget in that increase, and I don't know what we pay now. I'm paying attention.
Is that on our website?
If it's what the customer pays on the water bill is $17. I don't know what we actually pay in waste management.
Oh, okay, so it'd be 2% of 17.
Well, it'll be less, it'll be close to that. So,
Right, so 34 cents.
And then you add 88 on there.
Well, basically, if we
A
don't pay,
dollar, about $1, a little over $1.
if we don't pay the 88 cents or the dollar or whatever it ends up being, people are, and they start rejecting loads, people are just gonna throw the stuff in the trash. I mean, if we wanted to have recycling, it's almost gonna have to be the 88 or buck or whatever it is.
I like
Well,
it.
I don't know about option 3 either, letting them decide, because if they decide.
Mhm.
I also feel like if they decide we're pushing the can down the road, because I think 6 months from now, they're gonna say, hey, you know what, we can't.
Yeah.
continue
Right,
doing
you
this.
need an increase anyway.
Yeah,
that'll be the uncontrollable
Yeah.
circumstance.
yeah, yeah.
Well, if we want to, do we want to look at the impacts of the 88 cents and the 2% to the bill? And also, I mean, if we're going to do that, it might be a time when we want to adjust our rate so that we can make that not just borderline break even, but make sure that it does break even
Mhm.
on a regular occasion. So.
Yeah. I would pay an extra $1 a month to get recycling picked up.
Okay.
Because if we don't, we're even paying more for extra trash.
And then people throw it out, and just, who
And-
knows what they do with it, that dumpster, the phone company. People come in, but I think a lot of them are country people that bring it in and dump it there.
I know they did point out that the cost of recycling is still cheaper than the cost of disposing of trash, so that there's still, it's a benefit to try to do as much recycling as possible.
And it'd be a good education time too.
Now, what if there are changes in the recycling tariffs that we're currently having with China? I know that has a big impact on our, China buys a lot of our recyclables, and they're the ones that are dictating, we only want like 2% contamination or whatever. That was why it got so much stricter in the first place. I know this is all out of our hands, but I know that hypothetically in a year from now, it could potentially change. That's why I don't want to make too big of a drastic change whenever it could work itself out on its own way.
Yeah, I guess I wonder though, that this it could change. China could say, hey, we're good with that. I think this was happening before even all the current tariff stuff with China, because I've kind of followed the recycling thing for a number of years, and it has slowly gotten here, and it's been this way. I'm surprised that they haven't pushed harder before now, honestly. Just because I know that a lot of places that it's just the cost to do it is going up, and it's harder for them to find a market to get that recycling. But we could, I don't know if we could try to visit with them about, basically. I'm not sure what to tie that to the market.
Yeah.
Because it would have to be like a market trend, not necessarily, oh, well, it's been good for 3 months, we want to reduce that back. But
'Cause I knew at one point in time recycling, there was money to be made in recycling.
yeah,
And now it's not cost effective. Yeah.
need to push for manufacturers for better materials that can be more easily recyclable, but that's a money one thing.
Yeah.
So I could kind of take a look at that, 88 cents, 2% and all that, and bring that back to council.
I would like to, if somehow they could give us an idea, I don't know if they could tell. I'm sure there's a way they have record of how many people utilize it.
I don't know about people, but they do
Or
pounds.
households.
They do pounds.
I know every year it seems like it's more and more.
Yeah, because I remember we used to get a report on how many pounds every year went to recycle.
But I wonder if on their trucks, if there's some way they say we stopped here, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if they do it by house. Well, I just thought they did it by pounds, but it seemed like our poundage that they picked up was
Kept
increasing.
increasing, that's what I thought too.
That's that extra 25%.
Yeah, that's a contaminated stuff.
People are throwing the trash out there along with.
And then when someone new moves to town, you guys let them know at City Hall that we offer recycling.
Yeah,
And
I know when we moved, we got a flyer of here's what you can put in, what you can't, and all
Okay.
that, but I think, for some people, if they've been here for 5 years, they don't, I don't even know where that flyer is now, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to redo that, and that may be something that we want to think about, maybe on an annual basis, first of the year, hey, we send out, here's the latest on recycling.
Do it right
Do we
before
do that? I
Christmas.
guess
Right
I'm
before
assuming
Christmas.
that.
Or everyone puts a wrapping paper in there.
To their Christmas tree.
Yeah, Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Newton used to have a Christmas tree pile, and we could bring in the shredder.
We can get them at the park.
You have a bonfire.
Yeah.
And you can throw them in the lake or something.
I think they
created
make
habitat
them
for crop minutes and
Yeah, I don't know, last time they have. We were here 2 meetings last.
We're usually the first ones down there. The sign's not even up yet. Leave it, don't
9:30 on the 25th.
We're done.
I want it. Oh. I have to have down by the time everybody goes back to school.
Oh, that's good. I take my job the day after, or sometimes the day after. Sometimes early. It's on, yeah, it is.
Well, I'll put together some analysis on the option one with that, and I'll get some information on the utilization, and if they don't have really good, we'll see if we can figure out how to.
They should have poundage.
We should-
Send Stephanie and Randy out on Thursday morning. See who has good tubs out.
She can call on the trash truck.
Yeah.
I think that falls under other duties as assigned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants the time out? Yeah, just follow.
It's not as bad as.
Oh, don't say that.
That was awful.
Okay.
Okay, updates.
Some of the current projects, I just wanted to provide update for council. The Baptiste extension, that project, we're basically about ready to go out for bids on that. One thing that I wanted to kind of visit with council about in the design discussion, there's currently a median, a curved median there. And with the engineer, the discussion was that it makes it a lot easier for the traffic flow if we just get rid of that median. And Kurt didn't see any reason for it to be there. I didn't really see, so we had him take that out. And then I got thinking, well, maybe there might be something on the LDO. We've looked at the LDO. There doesn't seem to be anything that would require us to have that meeting. I just wanted to make sure to toss that out because sometimes those are kind of strange things that
You're
somebody,
talking about Baptiste?
Baptiste and Silver
Okay.
right there, because it'll just help that road to line up a little bit easier or a little bit better and have the traffic flows a little bit increased by taking
Get rid of what now?
the median. There's like a curved median there.
Why would you get rid of it?
So that we can have the traffic flows be a little bit better and helps line up that road a
But
little
don't
bit.
people will stand on that when they're trying to cross?
I don't know that many people cross there. I don't know that that's it's not, I mean, I personally wouldn't want to stand on that one because it's pretty narrow.
Yeah.
Well, there's turn marks.
Yeah, I know, right.
I don't think
It's not-
on that.
It's not like the median in a Y or a turn lane where it's larger where people can stand there. You're just talking
Which
about
one are we talking? The one in front of El Porto?
the.
Yeah. I really don't even know why it's there.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know. I'm just used to it being there.
Just wanted to put a median in town somewhere. I don't know.
I didn't know.
Is it
Right.
right in front of Pearl Street?
Yes.
Okay,
On Baptiste though.
they did it so that when they done away with left-hand turns, people would be less inclined to do the left-hand turns. And before they put it in there, they were actually just going ahead and illegally making the turns.
And they do every day
Cutting
anyway.
across the trail, I got
Do
you.
you know how many tickets I could write there? Weeks time, people doing that illegally. Craziest thing.
Now I'm concerned that I've done that illegal. We're catching up to that. And
Because you're talking about the one on Pearl Street. Because I think we're talking about the one on Baptiste.
You're talking,
Right,
the one over there in the middle.
right, the one actually on Baptiste, the one coming off of Pearl Street is the one you're talking about, right, that prevents them from going straight.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, but
curved.
then the one that's in Baptiste was to kind of
Right,
block
they
them.
made that longer, didn't they? Okay.
Okay.
It was to block them so that it would be less likely that they would go clear out and around,
Okay.
but they do anyway.
But they do anyway.
Spike strips.
That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I
Is it
think.
gonna cost us extra?
I think it'll be easier not to have it put in. It's basically this one right here.
Oh, that little guy.
I think people are so used to not turning left there. now. Probably most people.
I had a lady call me, she got a ticket there. And I said, but it says you're not supposed to do that. She said, well, I know, but I wanted to go the other way. And I said, but it says you can't. She says, but I wanted to. And I said, but you're not supposed to. Well, I understand, but I did anyway because I wanted to, and I don't think they should get. I never did get through to her. Maybe that wasn't the decision. Even though she got a ticket.
It's the same reason they put the median and stuff out there by Walmart.
Oh, yeah.
And they
Right,
changed
those
their,
6, yeah.
which
might
people
add
sometimes will
something.
go completely
At the
around it
job.
to turn the other way.
And then they still do. I see
Yeah.
people do the.
Not very
darndest
many
things.
though.
Mm-mm.
Plus, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
With the traffic. and
They're really old, they're gonna know that.
People do crazy things, I'll tell you.
Well, we'll just keep that design as is, and that will probably go out later this week, if not first part of next week. And then we will, I think, schedule the October 13th meeting when we would have a bid award for that. So, and then I think the right turn lane project at Hedge in Baptiste, that's kind of ran on KDOT schedule, and they're planning, I think, in October is when it was going to be. The bids would be out and closed, so it may be ready by the November meeting for approval on that. But that'll be those two projects on Baptiste. I'm not sure how fast. I don't know if we'll get anybody in here this fall yet to do construction. Originally, we were kind of thinking it'd all be spring before it would really get going, so I imagine that's probably the case.
I'll be glad they do that down there with that mental health, but you know, that bump going up over there, that would be so nice to have that gone.
GIS project, so they were able to get a crew down here the next week, and they're about 50% done with the sanitary sewer collection point. And they're actually going to be here and finish the sanitary sewer site up before they kind of migrate. They had another job that they're going to, they want to finish the sanitary sewer for us. That'll be probably by the end of next week, that'll be done. And then when they'll put that all up, and then they'll probably come out and make a cleanup round for the sewer and then do the water collection as well. So that's moving along. Miami and Kaskaskia Street project, that is scheduled to be officially started September 9th. I think they've been doing some utility locates and maybe some surveying, initial surveying in those project areas. I know I had a citizen call, was upset they didn't have any information. That's first, they're going to get a door hanger or something, confirmed they are going to get a door hanger. The contractor is supposed to be putting those out later this week. So get a little bit more information for the public, and we're going to try to get stuff on Facebook and everything too. So, and that's really kind of the bulk of the projects. We do have City Code is working on getting the code to the web, to more of a web-based service. That I know they're looking at the ordinances and current code right now. So
You also had on here the water line replacement on Hospital Drive.
oh yeah, water line, that is pretty well done on Hospital Drive. As my understanding, I think they've got a little bit more kind of cement road repair work. They got most of that done before school started. They got some done.
They got some curb to do too.
Yeah. And they do have a water line at Ursuline, put in that sprinkler line. That's up and ready. They just got to go back and kind of do the road repair work on that stuff. So, any questions on projects?
I'm getting a lot of questions on whether we're still gonna have a fall pickup or cleanup.
I've had some ask me that too. They're very,
It is basically scheduled, but we haven't released the date yet because we don't want people to get too much of a head start. I guess we probably,
We've been
Next-
telling him October,
okay.
not an actual date.
So it will be in October,
Yeah, we'll probably in the next couple of weeks be ready to
release.
get information out, yeah. But it is scheduled, so.
You know, people split stuff out all summer. And Tim O'Leary over here goes out every day and drives the streets. I thought we should hire him. I don't know what he does with all of it, but he loads it up and he does it quick and it's gone.
That idea around to his yard.
Huh?
Yeah.
Into his yard.
Into his yard.
Yeah,
Well,
we don't want
You know who he's taking a lot of it? His dad still owns that property out west of
I
town
heard
there
that's getting.
by Rick Shipman. You can't tell where their stops and shipments
Mhm.
begin.
That's
It's so
what I
bad.
heard.
But he takes it out there because I hired him to clean up a neighbor's yard down the street. I was just sick of looking. So I called and I said, what would you charge me to pick this mess up? He did it within 30 minutes, came down, I paid him, had it on there, and I said, well, where are you dumping it? He says, out in my dad's place. I said, good enough, so I'll just stop down. But he does it every day.
I have noticed that in the last 2 months, 2 different people have gravelled the parkway on Peoria Street.
One of them is where Gary Patilio lived, and I think maybe his stepdaughter moved in there, because I asked where Gary was, and I think him and his wife have got one of them big campers that are living in it. But she just did that a couple of weeks ago, and it's right on city right away.
Yeah, there's 2 of them that's done that.
Holding gravel, and the yard is just mud, and I knew Gary wasn't living there.
Well, there's a ton of them that's parking in the parkway, and also where they're actually pulling into their yard and parking.
But they just hauled in gravel and dumped it right on city right away, and they're
Yeah.
just parking there.
So they go to the parking lot.
And one of them would be right back this side of Petroleus, I think, about the 500 block. That's Peoria.
I know that I had taken a call from somebody who was mad because they couldn't park there, so maybe I don't know. I know at one time we were out letting people know that they couldn't do that. We may need to make another round on that.
Those people still do it on North Pearl. Across from where Duncan lives there. The urchins, you never know.
It just makes our city look so unattractive, especially
Yeah, it does, especially the thoroughfares where there's a lot of traffic.
coming into town.
And Peoria gets a lot of traffic. Carries a lot. Yeah, I couldn't believe when I saw she just dumped a carload, a truckload of gravel there. I thought, what is she thinking? But like I say, Gary had lived there and I thought, she's still there. So I started asking. He's not, it's her. I can't remember her name now. I know who it is. I just can't remember her name.
For council meeting items,
Like what?
are you ready for council meeting items?
Oh, yeah. I got my mind on the jail, wondered who died. I'm sorry.
The roof repairs, I think Stephanie has some information on that. That was kind of a weird deal for us.
Yeah, Kirk found out that the chemical building down the pool was leaking.
Oh.
So we had it checked out, found out that there was hail damage to it. So the insurance company decided to check all of our roofs for hail damage. There were actually several of them that have it.
Of the city buildings?
Yes, yeah, so they ended up giving us a number. We had 2 companies put bids in on it. Keaton Construction was almost exactly what the insurance company did. They came in, let's see, insurance that is about $59,000. Keaton was 57, and Slider Contracting was 65. So we'll just bring it to the council for approval and probably suggest.
What was the other one?
Slider
As well.
Contracting.
So he was
was
higher.
very high.
Yeah.
Keaton
Who
was
was
low.
in that? Who's King?
Keaton Construction. Oh.
Slider is so good. That man, he is so good, so very good. What's the difference?
So,
$8,000.
$8,000.
yeah,
Why don't you talk to Mark?
Yeah, once, we already got, most of the money from insurance, so once we get it approved, council will. Several of those buildings, you know, it was like the yellow concession stand, which is probably not even more roofing. I don't know, I was gonna ask Justin, I don't know who even, I know we own them, but who they really belong to. So I need to get with Justin on some of those buildings down there.
They're saying we're not gonna get rid of them, are we?
Yeah, like what the
The
plan
remodels?
is.
Yeah, like, so might as well work when we have insurance on them.
I know, but what if we're not going to,
Yeah, like the yellow, I don't think the yellow.
like, you know,
concession stands.
when they do the design of those fields, if they're gonna be gone, there's no sense spending money on the roof.
Yeah, but they have some nice sheds down there. Yeah, I'll give it to him before we regroup anything down there. That's all, unless you have questions.
Other item, the project out at the industrial park, that's the, Worker Shams is looking at putting in a baseball, softball facility. They have, we've looked at this, that's the lot that we've kind of got proposed is that lot that the community garden is on. We can split that off and leave the community garden kind of intact and give enough for Wickershams to do what they're wanting to do their development. If we do that, then basically the community garden, we're going to acknowledge that that's never going to be developed. And we can be good with that, but we would just make that, and then we don't have to worry about, oh, well, are they going to have to move? We're going to have to find a place for them. They're there. As far as the Wickershams project, that's, I don't think their original price, what they're looking at best, didn't include anything for land. So that would be something that council would want to consider. I know that, I think out there at the industrial park, when we've done our certified site with the state, we had $35,000 per acre. County, I think, has it valued at about $17,000 an acre.
Has anybody paid for it? I know G.K. Smith did make I don't know if it was a donation or they did pay the first part of theirs, but did these other people pay for that land?
Well, most recently DPI did basically $1. I don't know about Haasmeyer is nothing. I don't know about.
GK Smith did get something in, I want to say it was like maybe 15,000, and granted, that was back in 1996.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but Kenny, I remember that, and he felt better about doing that versus just taking it.
I'll turn you for that.
Hmm?
I didn't know where that number came from, so that
No,
makes
that
sense.
was kind of his, that was anything the city asked for, that was just something Kenny felt better about doing it that way. He didn't want people to think he was trying to take something from the city. I mean, he was a personal thing with him. If they do that, does that mean we only have these two areas left? This lot here where you've got city owned?
Yep, those would be the only two at the industrial park that we have left. And so
Now, what are we
we
gonna
need
do about Plessenmeyer, where he doesn't have a time frame?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything yet, right?
Huh?
He hasn't
No,
done
he hasn't
anything.
done anything.
Doesn't sound like there's anything we can do.
No, but could he sell that?
I think the way it is right now, he could sell that.
Can't do because weeds.
So he's not planning on building a building down there now.
Well, I think the last we've heard, he was gonna do a winter project this last winter, and it got past that time and didn't get done, and so the idea was it was gonna be this winter, but there's always another winter too.
Well, I think he started some project in Hillsdale. Did I not read that in the paper for the county or something up in Hillsdale? He owns property up there too, doesn't he?
Oh, they own a big center out there.
Yeah. I was
And
thinking-
most of it's still empty.
I I was thinking,
Yeah, 'cause that's where Dwight's photography studio is, isn't it? Yeah.
right there next door. There's
Right
gas
when you get
station
to-
ranch
yeah.
or whatever it
From the
is.
south edge.
Will there be some kind of stipulation with this current one that if it's not built on in a certain period of time, it comes back to the city? Or if it, they have to improve the property or a business has to be there for so many years?
Before they can build.
Right, or
So-
if their plans fall through or something like that, it reverts back to the city.
We
I don't want
did,
that, I don't want to have that.
we have some of that language in the recent DPI agreement. But if we wanted to kind of give this land for this project, I think it would behoove us to have some language.
Right.
It gives us a little bit of clawback on, if it doesn't work out as they have planned or as they have scheduled, that it can.
Because I certainly don't want to see them take the land for a little bit of nothing and then turn around and sell it for a profit to somebody else.
Yeah,
That's not the
Yeah.
intent.
Or build a big building and then sell that, yeah.
But we can, if council's interested in that, we can work with Lee and in the business to kind of work on something that would be agreeable, that would include that kind of language so that it protects the city a little bit from somebody just getting land and then.
Does something like this go to the zoning commission prior to us?
Well, that would be, I guess we would probably want to, I don't know, that we haven't talked about the timing. Do you have the timing in your head? Or do you?
Well, we would have to rezone the property first anyway.
Right.
So that would have to go.
But if we didn't, if we couldn't reach to common ground on that property, we probably
Correct.
would rezone it. So we would just, if we got to a place with Wickersham's and said, okay, we're good, then we could, as the city, go to rezone it and do the split and then finalize the deal.
Thing is, we're running short of industrial property right now. So we need to make sure that something positive happens with those and we don't.
Right.
Now, did I hear you correctly that we're planning on just letting the community garden stay there permanently type deal?
Well, with this proposal, that's what it would do. It allows space for Wickersham's development, plus it keeps the garden, and it becomes its own little sliver of garden. I know that we've talked to some of the community garden people. Alexis Shaw is now kind of the main person. We haven't talked to her directly yet, just kind of waiting to see where council was. I think there is some, if we were going to do something with that, we need to figure out where to move it and how we would do that. I think there's some sentimental ties to at least part of that property or a tree or something on that property that we would want to have to consider. If we sliver that off, we don't have to worry about that. It can be its permanent home when we put the community garden debate to rest and let it be there and not have to worry about it.
Who owns the property between that and the Sonic? Does the Sonic own that, where those weeds are?
That whole property to community garden is Sonic.
Is Sonic
It's all Sonic and the community garden.
up to the community
Mhm.
garden?
Yes.
So where those weeds are is Sonic.
Even some of the community garden is on their property.
Yeah.
They never say anything.
No, they don't. But that's just trying to give you an idea of how far
Yeah.
the property goes.
Yeah, that was a big piece of property when that. Yeah, I remember that was a gym or something it opened
It
there.
was
Activity
actually,
center.
yeah,
Yeah, it was-
had pool tables and video machines and computers for kids to do homework, batting cages, volleyball courts inside.
kind of like what they're talking
Yeah.
about, and it just,
It opened up when I was. in-
For 6 months, it was a gold mine and then it just died.
the newness wore off.
The Frames were the ones that did that.
That's right, I've forgotten their names. Then Sonic bought it for their building. That's right. Yep. There we are.
So thoughts, direction
on,
on the land? Well, I guess first thing, what's the thought on the idea of splitting that?
Just
That
leaving
splitting the lot, leaving the
as
community
is.
garden as is, and then having a piece of land for the Wickersham.
I hate to see us leave a property because it's dedicated to somebody that most people don't even know shouldn't be dedicated to it.
But you know, many people like that property. I mean, it's a nice little asset out there. They take good care of it. And many
And we've
people
had
go
fights
there.
over it and everything else.
See,
Why?
that's where I'm coming from too, because there's,
Half the people who were in power originally got voted out because they didn't want to change to what the new group wanted to make it. Percy and all them were involved in it originally, and now they all left. And like
Well,
I say,
it's very pretty though. I mean, there's been a ton of work going there. The kids go over there and work at it. Some of them used to go through middle school over there.
but I'm not sure that we should, one, dedicate it, have land that the city owns dedicated to the person that did what that person did.
I never think of it.
I
I'm
don't think-
connected with him. I think of it as a community. And
if you're
we got lots
anybody,
of parks and gardens around town.
but if you're anybody that's been affected by that, you're gonna think about it every day. And that's the problem I have. I mean, I understand there's sentimental value there, and there's a lot of personal feelings there, but if you're somebody that was affected by that incident, then to have something dedicated to someone that was involved, that's
And that wasn't a single incident.
right.
It was an ongoing thing with, that when it came to light, it was many children that had been affected.
I guess I don't think, I mean, I understand what you're saying from there, but I guess I don't associate.
And like I say, it's been a controversy ever since it's been out there. The people fighting over who gets to be in charge of it, who gets to do what. And we told them a long time ago,
You want to just rip it out?
I think we should sell it if we get a chance for a factory or something in there. Because like I say, we told them a long time ago, don't do anything other than the garden. Don't put benches out there and all this stuff, because we may have to sell it someday. And they've done it anyway, without our permission.
Well, maybe they can move them to the dog park. But really, you need benches and things. I mean,
I mean, I'll go along with what everybody wants to go along with.
you know, like I say, I just drive
I just
by
have
there
no bad
often and I
feelings
always
about it.
think it's very pretty. I don't particularly, I just don't associate anything much.
I think they've tried the group that's there now, and I don't hear all of what you guys have heard probably. But I know that they purposely changed the name and stuff to try to separate themselves. But I don't know, you know, I don't know that if the group that's out there now is tied to all that. I'm not sure.
I just
One
think
person
that
came in and
was-
started changing everything, and that's the person that also is involved with the dog.
Alexis, Sean, Mrs. Shaw.
I don't think we should permanently
Excluded.
exclude it. I think that if, what's her name, Wintersham's? Wickersham's, if they're able to do their project on the part of land that we're willing to provide them, I'm fine with the community garden staying there, but if another business comes along and says we want that tract and it's going to provide jobs or, you know, opportunity, then like basically the community garden, I'm fine with it staying there, but if, with the current terms that it's currently there right now.
And we kicked the soccer kids out.
They're
So,
down at the park.
huh?
They're down at the park, aren't they?
I know that they
But
didn't
they
have
was
a
kind
home.
of, but they was kind of glad because they was.
No, they
kind of
weren't.
bigger. They weren't.
If you talk to the president of the group, they were totally upset about that. We got lied to about that.
Well, why do people lie?
Huh?
Why'd they lie about it?
because wanted the development to go in there. It's the same deal with the community garden. They were told on the soccer fields that if a place, a factory or a business wanted to go there, that they would have to move.
Well, all they had was their goals and things. It's not like they put a bunch of other stuff there.
And I mean, it was one of those that I think they would have understood, but they were told that we were told that they were all for us going ahead, and no, they wasn't.
And they should have came and spoke up.
It was too late by the time it went down.
Well, my question is, with the way you've got it split up now, with that 2.07 acres for the community garden.
And that's a
something else-
rough estimate.
Right,
I mean,
right. But if something else wanted to go in there, somebody small came in there, is that still big enough to do anything with?
I think they could develop on an acre.
It is thoroughfare, yes.
Develop
So it's
something.
okay.
They
Because
could
I'm
still
not-
develop on it.
I don't want to come across like I want to tear the community garden out. I just have strong feelings, and I know people that have strong feelings, and my thought is something like that's associated with things
There will always be.
could be a very negative connotation regardless of the change. It's based on the individual that started it and the things that happened. I'm not saying we should rip that out and tell everybody their work is for naught, but I agree with Aaron. I don't think we should say, it's yours, you do what you want with it, it'll be yours as long as it's there.
Right.
I'm okay with leaving it the way it is
Until-
now.
leave
If
it.
another building came in and said, hey,
Leave it
we want
until
that
we
lot,
have it, right. Leave it
I
until we have
wouldn't
it.
think twice about it and say, yeah, you can have it.
When we have an opportunity to sell it or to, for somebody to develop on it, then they'll need to. And maybe we need to make that clear to them now before maybe they go on and start doing other things.
Well, I guess that's one thing I was gonna say. Is it, would council want us, we could start looking for a long-term home plan for the community garden. I mean, or we could just, we could help facilitate that and try to find a place on city property that does that. Or we could just say, you need to be looking for something in the future, because
I don't know.
is that
there'd be
time,
something-
because my concern is, is that if we don't push, they're gonna develop more and more and more, and so the next time we have this discussion, it'll be even more contentious and even harder to move, rather than just saying, okay,
Enough.
we're gonna section this off, but, whether we put a hard timeline on that or whatever, it may be better to do that, that way there's some a resolution in the long run on that. I don't know.
And I'm not sure how close to the actual development on the community garden or property, the new property line would be. But I think this would help curb expansion somewhat.
Yeah.
And like I said, again, I'm not advocating that we tear it out and kick them out, but I would hate to see us say, okay.
We're
it's yours.
already kind of altering the plan for them, so they should.
Well, but what I'm worried about, there's some trees, bushes out there, and that's a lot different than just a garden plot.
Mhm.
Because those are a little more permanent, and not, you can't take a chainsaw, but those become a little more permanent, and that's where I think having that, I just was trying to figure out if we want to try to encourage them to go else, find a place on their own, or whether we're like, hey, we'll try to find you a place on city property, but it may take us a couple of years to kind of get that finalized.
They may not want to start over somewhere either. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
What happens when somebody else decides they want to take it over, like this group did?
Maybe they need to come help do.
It's like I said, it all started just to be a deal for everybody. It's not for everybody now. It's for a certain group. The original
Well-
owner had a good idea behind it, and he shared with anybody that wanted stuff.
Well, and I think the only reason
But
that
I
we're
used to
looking
put
at,
it along the road. You could stop and pick it up.
but the only reason we're looking at doing it this way is so that we can zone the entire lot as thoroughfare access, correct? And keep it from spot zoning someplace else, and that's the only reason we're looking at this.
Yeah.
That's the only reason they're looking at splitting this.
Well, we wouldn't, technically, if we wanted to, we could, mean, we could just leave it all intact, zone it thoroughfare, and sell it all to, or give it all to Wickershams. Then there's that whole, what happens with the community garden? And I guess part of our thought is rather than saying, oh, you get a free lot and you got the community garden.
And this.
We were like, okay, here, this is the community garden, this is your lot. But I mean, it wasn't hard and fast. I mean, it was just trying to check a few boxes as much as possible. But it's pretty flexible what we do out there.
I think, like I spoke in the last meeting, that only, my main concern is that one spot, that memorial to the girl, the high school girl. I think the rest of it, most of it is people that pay $10 or something to plant their own stuff. I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem moving that somewhere else. So that one piece is the only thing I'm concerned about.
You're talking about the accident?
No, Reagan Johnson that committed suicide. Her mom has I think it's a butterfly garden out there.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that's
I
the
know we
only.
had that one gal that had a wreck out there and died. I didn't know that.
Yeah. BJ.
Huh?
BJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, her daughter. So that's the only piece I think that has really any sentimental value to it anymore. I don't think anybody else is gonna have a problem moving wherever. So. I like the idea of giving them a little bit of time, whether we help them or whatever, instead of just saying, time to go.
Well, and I wouldn't even think that we would have to be the ones to find them another place to go. And I would agree that we don't need to tell them, okay, you've got 2 years. I think if we do this and split it up, then we just make it clear to the leadership of that group that, hey, this is a lot owned by the city, and it is possible that somebody will come in here and want to develop that land. And if they do,
And that's when.
it's up to us to make that decision, say, okay, we're gonna give them the land and you've got to find someplace else to go, and just make sure they understand that can happen.
And encourage them not to be expanding anymore and
Right.
doing
Right.
more
That's what I like the idea of,
maintaining.
we're actually making their footprint smaller by
Right.
doing this subplot, you know?
At least putting a line on it that says, okay.
Can't keep them-
And I think that, to me, that makes more sense than leaving it all one lot and telling Wickershams, okay, you guys get the community garden, you deal with that. So,
I wish you could do that.
right. That would be the easy thing to do, but unfortunately, I don't think that's the right thing. So, and like you said, as long as, if they could develop 1 acre and there's around 2 acres there, then we could still do something with it in the future if somebody came in and wanted to put something small in there, so I'm okay with that.
You can always replat and add it to your lot too.
Yeah.
You can always put it back.
Yeah.
So it would just be another process, but you can always,
So if their thing goes well and they want to expand,
yes, they could.
And they
needed
needed that room.
Put it back
that we
together.
put it back together.
And then it really would be on them.
There you go.
Yeah.
Their request.
So consensus wise,
Are you still in the muddle?
no, I just want to
You
make,
still don't know what we're doing?
I want to put it out there so that I can make sure that we will kind of pursue the 2 lot setup. We'll visit with the community garden and say, hey, you don't, there's not a time clock on you, but know that if this happens, you need to understand that you need to limit, you don't make anything permanent because it could go away if we need to sell that lot, and pursue some sort of contract agreement or sale agreement with Wickershams, but also have some clawback on that.
Right.
If-
Right, in
if
case
they
something
don't
falls through, or
develop,
development
they-
doesn't happen quick enough that we can.
Right, I think there needs to be time frames on that, otherwise it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, like you said, like clawback, so we can take that property back, so somebody's not just sitting on it for a couple of years and then turn around and sell it.
Yeah.
Right, or somebody come in and really do need it and will develop it and it's set there 3 years.
If I were to guess, I'm guessing that they're probably gonna be moving pretty quick. If they're
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, I think sounds like they've got a lot of things lined up, so.
Mhm.
Anything else on that?
Didn't make that.
Well, I don't want to, I'm afraid at some point I'm gonna move on faster than somebody and be like, you know, so give you time to.
You never know what you're gonna get when you bring these things. That's why.
Back to the industrial part.
That's why he has to ask about permission for median, because you don't know what kind of stuff's. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't.
I've got emotional touch at every year.
Well, like I just wanted to be, I didn't want to be like, where's that meeting at? We just redid this, road and there's no meeting.
Next thing you know, we have people protesting better.
Yeah, they'll be good.
You put it in front of Lee's house.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, look, there was a meeting.
Not enough room because there's not enough parking.
Yeah, we need to bring that up again. Oh,
Did you ever find out who that was?
The guy lives right here.
Lives right behind, right the next door to you? Or right behind you on Peoria? Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I'm not as worried about it.
Have you seen what Rains has done with, along their property line?
Who's that?
Rains,
Which one?
the ones that live on Crestview,
Oh, John and Mary Beth? Huh?
they had, no, not John and Mary Beth, the other, the brother.
Oh, Pat and
Pat.
Kelly?
They have put little signs up, no parking on their side of the street.
You can't do that legally.
But they've got them and they've got arrows pointing to where they don't want people to park.
sounds like I need to organize a park. That's awesome.
And then the other Rains have no dog pooping in their yard signs.
I didn't understand that. I'm like, we find dog poop in our yard. We don't even have a dog.
Yeah.
Well, I find some that isn't our dog, and I'm like, you want to start that contest? 'Cause you're gonna lose.
If you're a dog, they will.
Yeah, your dog's huge.
Yours is
There's
like
one
a
in
cow.
there that's famous for carrying a bag of pepper and pretending she picks it up, but she never.
Who does that?
Good effort to get
Who does that?
that takes a really.
Remember?
Right.
No, pretty prominent person.
She just pretends. That's awesome.
Takes her dog off leash and lets it get to the door.
Oh.
This conversation's good.
I should have moved on past. this.
Yeah, this is on you, Sid. Move along.
There's a replat for Cherokee Ridge, and maybe has the information on that.
Yeah, I don't have a map, I'm sorry, actually. But, Cherokee Ridge, there's 6 lots that go behind the current development right now. And those lots want to be replat, the new owner, I don't have my keyboard, by the way. The new owner of those lots, like to replat those 6 of them into one. The problem is, the access he's gonna get is off Cherokee Lane, just like all the other houses along Cherokee Lane look like. So it looks like a standard lot from the front, it's gonna be really long. At the planning commission, it was tied 2-2, so there really is no recommendation for you guys.
Okay, what were the pros and cons? Why the cons, let me know the pros and cons.
So the pros were, it wasn't getting developed, they don't feel like if they were gonna replat it as one. That's because the development constraints of the lot, it's very rocky, it dips down really bad in the back, there's only a flat area in front where you can actually build a structure, and the rest of it is honestly gonna be open green space. And,
Where's this lot at? I'm having trouble picturing it.
okay.
Just give me a general neighborhood
Is it right
area.
there in the note from
It's down in my neck of
Electric
the woods.
Avenue there,
Oh, okay.
By where?
Actually,
Where the.
Is it across the street?
Power stuff is.
Oh, okay, okay.
where what is?
Out by where all the light and power stuff is.
Yeah, that
Okay.
Electric Avenue goes down there. But
and I'm trying to,
Do you mean, right, type something in there?
yeah.
Do you
Well,
need
I'm
me to-
just gonna pull up
there's
my-
some houses that go along Cherokee there. Are these down that way, or are these the ones that Nancy and them used to own? Is that?
These
See,
lots-
Charlie Smith owns these right
Who owns
now.
it?
Charlie Smith. Charlie Smith.
You want to make it all one lot?
No, I'm sorry, let me try to pull this up real quick, and then we will get back to what's going on. But I can't see the light limit.
Well, we'll have to adjourn to Cherokee Ridge.
While we're waiting, let's return to the industrial.
Yeah.
How about picking up dog
For
food?
just a moment. Here we are. Okay. So this is Cherokee Lane.
Right.
This is Poplar Ridge. This will be the
Yeah,
extension of Poplar
Poplar
Ridge.
Ridge.
Okay.
That's it.
Now, there's only, to have a standard, city standard street, you have to have 60 foot right of way. There was only 30 there platted because they didn't own the this property to be able to acquire the additional 30 feet. That is why these lots have never been developed, because this is the only access for these 6 lots.
Randy, who owns that other over there now?
I don't know.
I know the one that Nancy Tippett on her
And
dad.
so Charlie owns those 6 lots.
He put them on Zillow, and now Mr. Lawrence Schneider owns them. And he wants to replat all 6 of them into one. So that way, like I said, he wants to build a house up here, he said a garage. He's gonna get his access right here off Cherokee Lane, just like these houses right here have it. He's gonna get a drive.
Popular Ridge still won't be,
We're gonna vacate Poplar Ridge, we're gonna keep the easements, and we're going to extend our sanitary sewer easements on this side actually to accommodate for these houses behind it.
What were the 2 no's? Why was there,
Well,
because they feel like that could be developed sometime?
more of, they felt like they didn't want, it felt like they gave a lot of freedom for one lot. They said that's a lot of space for one lot. That's really what it was.
They did what there?
They felt like it was a lot of space for one lot. That's a very big lot for one house. That was their dilemma.
But with all the rocks and all the
Correct. As you can kind of see, this all starting here.
hardships of trying to develop it would be extremely costly.
Absolutely.
Do you remember, you know them houses that go down from, is it Pawnee or something that goes down and circles around?
Oh,
Cherokee
Pawnee and Centennial.
It's just a block up. Yeah, it's a block up on Poplar, and they go down there, new houses down in there. They go. Those was so rocky, that man tried to develop them because of the rock.
Yeah.
It was somebody, I don't remember.
So these have sat vacant since it has been platted, and I thought it was 2005.
But I tell you, that's probably gonna have some of the same challenges with all that rock and everything.
Absolutely. These 2.5, maybe 2.5, are probably the only ones that could be developable for a single family house. And with the zoning, it is zone suburban, so you can essentially only do residential. So that was one of their concerns is, well, they're gonna do a business. No, you can't do a business there. So the zoning won't let them. So that was another one of their concerns.
So out of that 6, there's a potential for 2 to be developed, 2 houses to be built there.
No, because there's,
Right.
correct, there'll be no road frontage and access. So that's why it would have to be one long lot. So they would have the road frontage to get access and comply with the regulations in the LDO. And if they can't use this for access because it wouldn't be up to the city standards, they would have to get this other 30 foot right of way and develop the road to have it be the same quality as our residential roads, which would be way too expensive for one house.
Why does this man want to build there? Just that one?
It was cheap and available.
And you can have
I'm not gonna lie to you, that's what it was. It was cheap and available.
it is straight downhill, like, I lived down there in Cherokee.
It's-
one time, and it's
Yeah, it's a
top of
big
the hill,
trouble.
and then
Yeah.
the bottom is the bottom of
Yeah,
the
it
hill. So I
is.
can see it, I understand that.
So essentially, you're just gonna have, it'll look, when you're driving down Cherokee Lane, it'll look like a standard house lot, like these. It'll have an access. It's just gonna have a very long backyard.
And all he can do with is the normal stuff that any other normal lot could do.
Correct.
Just mow it.
just have a single family house and accessory structure.
What's the accessory structure?
He wants a garage, and it can't be any larger than the your primary floor square footage.
You mean just a garage park his car in? Won't that be on the house?
Sometimes no, sometimes they want to shop.
In other words, it may be a big garage.
Yes.
Like,
But
over three
again-
or four
How's
cars.
it
or
gonna
something.
access it?
But again, he's gonna have to put it on one of the first 2.5 lots.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And he'll have to have a drive. He'll have his access off of Cherokee.
And you'll
but
have to
just
have a drive
driveway
off-
to the back or
Yes.
something. Get to that.
If you wanted to, you could concrete the whole back, as long as he has.
If
He
they
wouldn't do that, is what I'm saying, but we don't care what he concretes on his property, is what I'm trying to tell you. As long as he has
People
an
right
access,
there next to it, right?
that's fine. I mean, there's no setback for concrete. You can go to the property line, actually. But he would have to have a certain amount of green space. Since he has a big lot, it'd be a lot of green space he'd have to have. So,
What did the planning board say?
3-3. They were tied. 2-2, I'm sorry, they were tied.
Oh, it's tight.
Mhm.
Everything's tight.
That was the first time. I was like, oh, man.
Hmm.
In your opinion?
Well, Randy and I talked about this quite a bit, and we felt like this was probably the best solution to try to get that lot developed. Because it kind of, you get rid of those 6 hanging out there, and you don't have to worry about that ever having to be developed. And it's probably not, I mean, cost-wise, it's probably never going to be there. And there's also, you can't see there, I mean, there's a line of big telephone poles that run right down there too. So even if you had the full 60 foot, Mike, I'm not so sure that you wouldn't have to have telephone poles in the middle of the road because of where they're at. And that probably wouldn't be cheap to try to have those. So the idea was, okay, well, how can we give him access? We'll just make his front road, make his address Cherokee Lane and not Poplar the way it was gonna. I mean, I think from the original plat, it was gonna be a Poplar address would be what those would have, but just make it one. And what he does behind there, in a sense, let him build his garage if he wants to have, I guess, there's some limitations, but
You can't have like livestock or horses or anything like that on there, right? In the city limits and.
right, you know, and with the residential, it would be,
This isn't the developer, or is it the one's buying it? So who's he gonna get to do that? I mean, he'll have to have a builder do this, right?
You can build your own home, but most of you probably will have a builder. But there are people out there that we do come in and build their own home.
And if we vacate Poplar Ridge, that basically makes it where those other lots can't be developed, even down the road.
right, right. And if he builds on that what is the front lot, and 5 years from now, there's a new way to build a house or
Still.
something.
Yeah.
They could come down here, we could replat it, oh, but by the way, to do that, you've got to build a street.
Yeah.
And so his address would, his would still be off of Cherokee, but then everybody else would be off.
How close is that going to be to those other houses down there on that cul-de-sac?
Well, their property would have, there's, what's that, KCP&L easement is, with that 30 foot,
20, I believe.
20, so,
So that's the separation.
And the planning commission felt 200 was giving them too much.
Yes.
Good, thought it was okay. I have a commission question for you before we take off.
But I mean, honestly, I'm not sure if anything ever gets built in that area, I'm not sure that you're gonna have to, I mean, I think you'd want to take that all to one lot, just so that there's not that potential that somebody wants to buy the inland and scream about, you gotta build us a road.
I guess, you're concerned about these being so close, if they were developed, they would still be the same distance to that. So honestly, this might be better for them because it's so rocky back there.
Right,
Yeah.
and now he'll only be able to build a single house and the other single structure, and that's it.
Yeah.
Can't put any other buildings on the lot.
Now, the other single structure, is there a size limit on that?
Yes.
What's the size limit?
Can't be larger than the first floor of the house.
So he could put like a 60 by 40, if his house is that big?
I'll have to check. I don't know the calculation right off the head, but I'll have to check on that for you.
I mean, that would be a building big enough to put like 15 cars.
I don't think you could be that big, but.
This is kind of like that guy that was going to build that house over there by Maple Vista. It was never worked out. Remember that man? He did all that stuff.
British accent.
Yeah, did we have to vacate something?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. But it's.
Not as much as he wanted more.
Right,
But
a corner or something.
But he never did. I think he just kind of walked away from that.
He is pretty slow.
He's trying to sell it. Look at that.
It'd be a big lot for somebody.
But the development cost on that. It's a little impacting those other houses.
Oh, I
know.
Yeah, I'm kind of, you said that I think that this might be the best use of that land.
I think my vote would definitely be no if all 6 lots were fully developed. It's like no.
Yeah.
But based on the lot, based on the location, I don't know what else you're going
Yeah.
to be able to do there. You know,
And I don't have a problem as long as he's not putting up a gigantic metal building.
There is still a regulation. He still has to abide by all the regulations that we have.
Okay.
It's not like he's living in the country, no. He'll have all the same regulations that.
some chickens, some cows.
So you guys approve that?
Yes, no. Not more three, not more three. I would not.
Don't be doing two here on me again.
I think we found a spot for the community garden there.
There you go.
Right, trees.
Oh,
You'll have trees and all that junk.
Think of all the rocks they can verify and beautify the place here. Make it real pretty.
We'll move on.
No dead space, no dead space.
The other 2 items are kind of smaller things. The housing incentive renewal, that expires at the end of September, and just thought we'd go ahead and renew that for another year. We had 9 people that took advantage of that this last year.
That's the best year we've had, isn't
I think one of the first years, I think we ran out of.
Mhm. We had to
used
redo
all
it.
12 or something.
Mhm. Do we have a more, I mean, was it several people or was it one person again? Because I know sometimes one person will come in and
There was 4 different ones.
four.
Were they developers or were they just people buying?
it? We know that one group was just a guy and his wife.
Right.
Other people that came to the meeting.
That came to our meeting.
Yeah, they was very nice.
Yeah.
Older couple wanted to move into town.
This is, and we don't have a max anymore. It's just for a period of time. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile.
And then the other thing is just the updated water system, emergency response plan. And we'll get a copy of that in the packet, but it's gonna be the same as last year, except for we're gonna try to have all the names updated.
Yeah, I think I have a problem.
Don't we have to do that every year, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just an annual thing, so. Just, like I said, it's mostly name changes and phone number changes, and that's about it. I think not Nathan, but the city manager before him was still on one of the lists, so we're trying to get that updated too. Okay. Other than that, I think that's it for council meeting items. Any questions?
I was tickled to see the sales tax is doing a good sale.
Yeah, it was between June, July, and August, it's been pretty phenomenal. I'm trying to plug in that information into one of my projections. I think we'd had the merits frozen, and I think we'd be able to do that. I think the trajectory of where the sales tax has, with the last couple months and where it looks like it's going to end up, we're going to be above where we had budgeted, so that would compensate for some of the loss that we've had in a couple other areas. So I think we'll be able to move forward on that.
Good.
On other items, I was just going to bring up I think in October we'll do the STO UPOC, and we're still trying to figure out. The STO did not change, but we have to renew the license to it. The UPOC had some minor changes. We're going to figure out if we're going to do that or just keep for what it was. Either way, we have to renew the license for it as well. We'll talk about the target is trying to have some information for council to talk about breaking my old rules in November. So if you have some thoughts or suggestions, shoot them our way. But like the whole camping and that whole discussion, but we'll try to have the staff, we're going to try to get together and come up with kind of, okay, here's some things we need to address and how we might address those at the council. But if you have something that you want to make sure we consider, get those
Some people
things.
can't pay $8 a day or $7 a day and own there the whole summer. Yeah.
Park a tent out there. And I've seen tents too. I've seen them before you get to the camping area. There was one just off the walk, the path. There was a tent there, and there was also a tent going further down past the Lions Club, or, the Lions Park.
Well, they're not even used to
there.
it. And so it's not fair to our other citizens who want to go out there and camp.
I agree.
And then we talked about bringing the breed-specific ban back, or that conversation back. We're trying to do that in October as well. So just to kind of get the timeline.
Contact you on that.
I haven't had anybody contact me on that. I know that
Sleeping dogs.
Nice break.
I agree, because otherwise
It's a
we get a
nice
ton of big ones.
well, I think that's the dilemma of how far do we want, at what level of enforcement do we want on the.
I think that's the
'cause
problem.
I think we're starting to get more, and we've got, I know we've had, I don't want to say that too much. A service dog that was, and it's like, how do we handle that? I mean, because that kind of gets, if they say it, you gotta kind of do it that way. So,
That's kind of a loophole that the government left open, that they can self-train their own service dog and not have a certification on the dog.
Well, that's kind of the way Kansas defined it too.
Yeah.
Because they really, what they tried to do is they tried to make it easy, but they left it wide open for interpretation. And the problem,
a fleet of squirrels.
right,
Right.
and I think the biggest problem I have with it is just having an ordinance that we know we have, but we don't enforce it. And people know we don't enforce it like you said, there were pictures of people with their pit bulls down at the dog park and whatnot, and my thought is, if we're gonna have it, we need to enforce it.
And I agree on that. I think we should enforce it.
We'll have some information on that for October's,
You have a pit bull.
no, that's the,
A mini horse.
Right.
And then if we could too, just make sure we get a COVID update.
Yeah.
On the
yeah, we'll have that at the meeting. I think we're going to probably see an uptick. School has started.
See what?
An uptick because of school has started and
Well, I've been hearing that.
I think the state is still, as the state, we're still kind of struggling. The last numbers I've seen we're not making any headway. We've,
Backwards.
yeah, so,
We're 200, aren't we?
211 was the last time.
What?
211.
yeah, I think that's right.
Do you know, I was reading, I think, the Kansas City paper for the mandate that the governor that would expire September. So, there you go. That's what was kind of following, isn't it?
We were following that guidance for her mandate. I'm not sure. First might have, probably did have, I haven't looked at it for a while, if it has a.
I was thinking that's what I read in Kansas City.
I know that some communities put a timeline on others. I know that some of those communities have already extended those
Yeah,
timelines.
Kansas City, Missouri did till in January. But if you read the numbers every day, they're in the Kansas City Star paper, and Johnson County is way up there. It's like 12 now or something. Way up. Are you still in school, Aaron?
Technically, the teachers come go back tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, and then we have students next Wednesday.
Katie said they got a notice from school. I guess some girls, I forget where it was, went to somewhere over the weekend. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of kids got suspended into quarantine.
There's 45,
Yeah.
45 kids quarantined. As far as I know, they only have a couple positives so far. So hopefully,
I know college towns are struggling right now.
Oh, they really
Oh, yeah.
are. KU, K-State, all of those.
We're also saying that a lot of them that's dying now are actually school-age kids and young adults.
I'm kind of surprised that Johnson County's numbers are as high as they are. I don't know, that surprises me every day when I read that and the number of deaths. Kind of a deal.
We'll have some of the latest information on that. I can just find out, look at that executive order and see what that date was.
I didn't think the original order had a date.
Well, that's what I was trying to remember.
That's what kind of concerned me, because there wasn't a, I don't know if she added one after the fact, but I don't think there was a sunset date on it. That's what
No.
concerned me.
Maybe I just read that and read it.
No,
I read a lot.
Especially if our numbers climbing, I can't see her.
yeah, I think maybe there might have been a date, but it might have been tied to some city or county.
Right, I think so, because I think that was a big deal, was there wasn't a.
Yeah.
Right.
Wasn't an expiration
I don't
date.
see one in here.
Yeah, I didn't.
Maybe I was just hoping for that.
So, yeah, because it's.
I guess I used to wear it, and I forget I got it on half the time. Isn't that crazy?
I've never forgot I had it on.
Do you know I have? I just forget. It's just.
I just do not have it on.
Sure went through a lot of it at the laundry though. I don't know if they're just taking them because they need them, but they think they might need them or what, but I put them out every day and they're gone by.
You heard the dilemma they ran into Walmart, didn't you? With the guy with the gun.
No, what, out here? No,
Where the guy went to go through and they said, are you gonna wear a mask? He says, I don't have to, and shows his gun and says, this is my way in store. So Karen caught me and asked me if that could be considered as a terroristic threat. I said, yeah, it is. And so they called the cops on me. Where Walmart's corporate has a policy, they don't want anyone beat up or shot or anything, so if they don't wear the mask or take the mask off after they get in the deal, just hope they hurry up and leave.
yeah, they don't get threat though.
So they couldn't charge him with trespass because Walmart didn't tell him he couldn't go ahead and come in after he showed his gun. But luckily, the guy had outstanding warrants on him in other places, so they did get to arrest him.
Well, I will say the only problem I have is it's a totally different enforcement spectrum across the entire city. You go into Casey's, they won't say anything to you. They don't care if you're wearing one, nobody will say anything. Go into Price Chopper, walk in without one, nobody's gonna say anything. Depending on who's at the door at Walmart, it's like they want to tackle you to put a mask on, and it's like, look, I'm not putting it on until I get to the door. I don't have to wear it from my car to the door. I'll put it on, but, you know, so I think that's part of it, and not that I'm justifying his behavior in any means, but I think that's the problem, is you've got the whole range of spectrum of, you know, we were in Branson several weeks ago, and one of the ladies at the restaurant pulled down her mask and yelled at us to socially distance. And we showed up together. I'm like, we've been riding in a car together. We're all together. We're all family. We're fine. We've got our masks on, but you just pulled your mask off your face to yell at us, to tell us. And then you walk into other places and they're like, you have to have it on until you get seated. Once you're seated, we don't feel it. So I think that's part of the problem, is we, based on the way it's written and based on the way we talked about it at the meeting, we just kind of shoved it on the business owners and said, okay, it's up for you to enforce, when it's really not.
And I don't think any of them are enforcing it.
No.
But
But you know, the majority of people.
that's a positive
the
thing.
importance of it, and I do see more people all the time.
Because Walmart don't tell them they have to wear a mask.
There's a lady at the door that
Well, it
thinks
depends on who
everybody
you
that
talk to.
goes in,
Okay,
you're
well,
wearing.
I've never had it.
Your mask.
I've seen people walk in right behind me or in front of me, and they don't say a word to them.
I think it depends on the employee that's out there watching the door, because that's it. Other
Yeah,
Walmarts.
Stacy always says, thank
If
you
you're
for
looking
wearing
at it
your
or
mask.
not.
But one positive thing about it, I'd say 95 to 98% of the people are wearing them in Walmart and Price Chopper. But yeah, you've got jerks that just go ahead and go without them. They don't care.
They get in the car with me and I tell them, where's your mask? And if they're going to Walmart, I say, you can't go in without it. I end up giving them one. We get her done.
And I understand Walmart and Price Chopper and stuff. They don't want somebody shopping this stuff.
No, I always give
Or
everybody
beat
a
up.
mask.
They've seen it in other towns.
Most people are very nice. They really are. And I think we can see that with our sales tax revenue.
And it's accomplishing what we needed to accomplish. The majority of people are wearing them. Yeah, I went to Miami Lumber the other day, and pure dumbness, I was trying to hurry and I forgot to grab my mask, opened the door and I said, oh shit, I forgot my mask. So I started to turn back on my truck. He says, we don't care. I
Did you
said,
say I do?
yeah, and I went back and got my mask. Because I mean, they're behind their shield. And
Different world we live in right now.
I know the schools, well, at our school, we're gonna be very strict about it.
Oh, my school kids, they have theirs on when they get in the car in the morning, and when I pick them up, they've got them on when they get in. They never question it, they just.
if we had the kind of numbers like Johnson County and them do,
Wyandotte, holy
then
cow.
people would take it more serious. But if it's not only having, at first we only had like 15, then it was slow, and it's increasing at a faster rate each week now.
Well, with Labor Day coming, be another.
Just think if we'd had routes, they were smart to cancel it ahead of time. There'd be 5,000 people in a 1 square block area.
We'll get there. Be positive.
I don't have anything else for tonight. Okay, council,
I wanted to give you guys a heads up, so Sid's almost been here 6 months already. So his contract is up for negotiation already. So we're talking about
I believe
that.
it's been 6 months.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that at an executive session at the end of our next meeting.
We can't just do
Well, we
a. Sid, could you turn around for just a minute?
I mean, I have to, maybe like, so we'll be talking about that.
You know, we're getting real good with time, folks.
Yeah.
I felt like since it's only been 6 months and it's been the craziest 6 months, we didn't need to do our normal paper rating community involvement when we can't really be out, and that kind of stuff, so. We'll do a verbal-
community involvement, man.
We'll do a verbal one this time and hopefully next time things are normal.
Well, we do need to stay on the schedule.
Yep.
And whatever we found, we want to review it real strict.
Yep. So, and Lee's gonna sit in with us, I've already talked to him.
Okay.
I was afraid he might be gone because Labor Day, but he'll be here. That's all I have.
I had one little question. The guy on Fresh Street.
There was 3, we
the
lost
one
somebody.
I don't know.
Had 2 driveways.
There was 3. I think we bored
Did
somebody.
they decide anything on
So
that?
there was 3 watching.
It's like the fourth house
They
on
They
Fresh
left
Street,
during the watch.
on the right hand side of the road.
Oh, I don't, not
I'm
on
not-
that. That was
two waste management.
a while ago, maybe, which is about that long time ago. Because he wanted to merge it with his neighbors, and I said, you can't, I can't give you building permits, pour concrete on your neighbor's property, I'm sorry. He goes, well, my property owner said, okay, I said, no.
Well, supposedly he had approval from Bill on putting in a second driveway and somebody else from the city. Why didn't, it was supposed to go to zoning, he was supposed to have a hearing. It hadn't had the hearing.
Oh,
on
no,
it.
he's never submitted anything, or, no, he's not.
Okay.
Kurt, yes, it probably was brought up, and we said that we could not make that decision, that would have to be zoning, a variance type.
But it hadn't went through zoning.
No, he has not, no.
If you hear anything on it, let me know.
Sure. You should, you're close enough, you'll probably get a personal letter. So you know,
Okay.
Randy, what happened to that house out there at Country Club that was in foreclosure? And the water was all draining off, and I think the people next door